Giving all praises, all honor, all glory to Yahweh and His Son Yahweh Shai. This is the Shema with your bro Shi'yah and my brother Gabar. How you doing, brother?
Man, every day above ground is a good day.
All praises, all praises. We're gonna get right to it today. Because I want to cover 3 chapters today. The Most High put some on my heart, and I'm gonna try to see what I'm gonna try to make it work. The title of today's lesson is Practice Patience, Hearing, and Control. Practice patience, hearing, and control. Now I put it there because James chapter 1 and chapter 3 talk about having that patience and control and hearing. All 3 of those things are in there, and also Sirach 28 has that in there too. So that's what we're going to be focused on today. You can never get enough of practicing on your patience. You can never get enough on practicing on hearkening. You can never get enough on having control of your emotions. So I want to do that so we can just have a good understanding with our people, and let our brothers and sisters know that whatever you guys are going through, y'all are not alone. We all are going through this together. We all got to get through this together. Sometimes it takes a brother or sister taking you by the hand and saying, look, you ain't by yourself. You're not alone. We all are doing this. We're all going through something. So in the spirit of that, we're going to go through and me and the elder Gabar are going to break down these scriptures to help our brothers and sisters today. Whenever you're ready, go ahead and start that. It's James 1 and 1. Oh, did you have something to add? I'm sorry.
Let's go. This is the book of James, chapter 1, verse 1. James, a servant of Yahweh and Hamashiach Yahweh Shai, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad. Greetings.
We already know that. We already know who this is titled to. You know,
my brethren, count it all joy. My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations.
Sometimes we are going to fall into
this,
diverse temptations.
That the trying of knowing 3, this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience.
Trying of your faith does work patience. When you are tried in your faith, you are going to have your patience tested over and over again. Go ahead.
James chapter 1, verse 4. But let patience, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing.
So we got to do our patience, be in our patience, understand our patience, know that we have to have patience. Understanding to have the patience is very important. Sometimes we lose it when emotions get involved, but that's what we're talking about today. Go ahead.
Verse 5. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask Yahweh, that giveth to all men liberally and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him.
Sometimes when we lack patience, we need to pray for it. He said, if any man lack wisdom, let him ask the Father, let him ask Yahweh. Sometimes when you feel like you're slipping, you need to pray for that thing. You need to pray to get better. You need to pray because, hey, Father, I'm slipping. I need your help. I need you to help me bridle my tongue. I need you to help me do these things. Sometimes we have to pray for these things. And in the midst of going through stuff, a lot of us forget to pray. We're going through stuff with our spouses. We forget to pray. We forget to put that in there. We just going through and we're not praying. We got to pray. That's what asking the Most High God is. This is what that's talking about. If in verse 5, it's talking about praying for wisdom to get through your situation. Go ahead.
Verse 6. But let him ask in faith, nothing wavering. For he is like a wave of the sea, driven from the wind and tossed.
Read on.
For let not that man think that he shall receive anything of the Lord. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways.
If you're double-minded, you are unstable.
Of low degree rejoice in that he is exalted.
If you are double-minded, you are unstable. If a person, if one way you want this way and the next way you that way, it is unstable. And to have that, a lot of times when we go through things, we need to shorten our speech. Have you ever heard somebody say, mean what you say and say what you mean? You have to let your words be as short and let your speech be very to the point when you're going through things. Some people forget to shorten their speech. Some people forget to say what they mean what they say, because we speak with a lot of emotion. And a lot of times with us men, when we're dealing with our wives and we deal with loved ones, we got to take the emotion out of it. We got to pull emotion away from it. A lot of people say, why you want to be like that? No, you have to pull your personal emotions out of it and let the Father speak for you. Sometimes saying nothing is saying something. Sometimes being quiet is the best thing for you. Go ahead. You got anything to add to that? You got anything to add to that? Are you there, brother?
James chapter 1, verse 8. Nope.
Oh, okay. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
James chapter 1, verse 8. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Let the brother of low degree rejoice in that he is exalted.
Let the brother of low degree exalt that he is exalted. Go ahead.
The rich in that he is made low, because as the flowers of grass, but the rich in that he is made low, because as the flowers of the grass, he shall pass away.
Everybody died. Go ahead. And we apologize, brothers and sisters, that I think something going on with that internet today. The internet is kind of it's skipping a little bit. Yeah. It's skipping. Read that. Are you there, brother? Mm-hmm. Can you hear me?
I'm there.
Can you hear me, brother?
I hear you good.
Gabar, you hear me?
I hear you good.
You hear me? Okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Okay. Go ahead. Read the next verse.
Verse 11. The sun is no sooner risen with a burning heat, but it weareth the grass, and the flower thereof falleth, and the grace of the fashion of it perisheth. So also shall the rich man fade away in his ways.
Read on. You there?
Blessed is the man that endureth temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which the Lord hath promised to them that love him.
Stop right there. A lot of 11 and 12 is talking about, he said for the sun is sooner risen with the burning heat, meaning in life we're gonna live this life. We're gonna all perish. We're gonna all die. Things are gonna happen. But in the midst, until you die, or in the meanwhile, you're gonna go through stuff. It says, "Blessed is he that endureth temptation," because temptation is gonna happen to everybody. Everybody's gonna go through, and it reminds me, this kind of reminds me of a lyric that Tupac said, and it was a lie. He said, "No man alive has ever witnessed struggles I survived." A lie, because we all have gone through stuff. But I guess when we're going through diverse temptations or we're going through struggles, we feel like nobody's hurting this much. Nobody's hurt more than me. The truth is we all have suffered. We all have had pain. So we have to understand these things. We have to know, like, look, this is what's going to happen. Sometimes it's going to rain hard. Sometimes it's going to be real sunny. So we have to accept both, and we have to know how to take them, right? Go ahead. Oh, verse 13.
Verse 13. Let no man say, verse 13, let no man say, when he is tempted, I am tempted of God. For Yahweh cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempteth he any man.
So he don't tempt you. You tempt of your own desire.
Every man is tempted when he is drawn his own lust and enticed.
So those things are going to make us or cause us to sin. Our own lust, our own desires is what causes us to go into the stuff like that. Go ahead. Verse 15.
Verse 15. Then when lust have conceived, it bring forth sin. And sin, when it is finished, bring forth death.
So once lust comes, that's when we're enticed. Once it's conceived, it brings forth death. Or it's something, and it can be death of the spirit. It can be a physical death, but it brings forth the death of righteousness. It kills it. It kills what's good, right? Go ahead. And he tells you in the next verse, do not err, my beloved brother. What does that mean? Do not sin, or do not cause yourself to sin, my beloved brother. What does that do? What does that mean? Walking away from that which is enticing you. Go ahead. Go ahead. Can you hear me? I think my brother froze.
Verse 16 from the top. Do not err, my beloved brethren. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, and cometh down from the Father of lights, with whom is no variableness, neither shadow of turning. I hear you.
Read on. Read on. Can you hear me? This daggone computer, man. It says, huh? It's this internet. It's acting up today. It's getting on my nerves today. The Most High.
Read on.
Go ahead, read on. Yeah. Go ahead.
Verse 18. Of his own will begat he us with the word of truth, that we should be a kind of first fruits of his creatures.
So when it says kind of first fruits of his creatures, we got to remember how important it is to stay in the spirit. We got to remember how important it is to do what we're supposed to do, to know that it's not him tempting us. A lot of times, I want y'all to see something.
Wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath.
Yeah, something going on, Gabar, with this computer. Something's going on with this computer. It's cutting us off and cutting us on, cutting us off and cutting us on. And this is crazy. When it was saying that to be swift to hear, slow to speak, a lot of us are led into our own lusts. A lot of us, it's not him that tempts us, but we're led into our own because we are tempted, and we think it's the Most High tempting us. We are our own worst enemy in a lot of stuff. We're our own worst person, and a lot of things that we do are very self-inflicted, very self-inflicted. But go ahead. I'm sorry about this computer today, man. Hopefully we can get through it. You there? You there? Go ahead. Gabar. Hello?
Oh man, mine do it all the time. So I don't know if it's you or if it's me. We
Right.
got it. Yep.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I apologize for this computer.
My beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. For the wherefore lay apart all filthiness and superfluity. Is it not working?
Yes, it's cutting out and cutting on. You that last part, it didn't even get you. You couldn't even hear it. Like verse 20, when it says, wherefore my beloved brother, we heard 19, but we didn't hear 20 and 21. And so it says, wherefore my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. It says, for wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God. So getting angry doesn't work righteousness of God. And verse 21 says, therefore, lay apart all filthiness and superfluity, superfluity and naughtiness, and receive with meekness the grafted word, which is able to save your souls. That's what he's talking about right there. We got to receive it and be able to accept it. That's why I said you got to have the patience, the hearing, and the control to accept.
And receive with meekness and engrafted word.
Right. And read on. Just verse 22. In verse 22. Go ahead, read verse 22. I'm so sorry, y'all, about this computer. And verse 22 says, but be ye doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves. So we know we have to do the word. Now, this is teaching us how to do the word.
Verse 22.
Right.
But be ye doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves.
This computer tripping, baby. Oh, it kicked them off. Oh my God. Give me. Here. Put them in the trash or outside or where you want to put it. Sorry about that, you guys. Oh, this is crazy. That I don't know if it's his computer or if it's my computer. Oh, but it's crazy because it kicked him off. And hopefully we'll get him back. But we're gonna keep it rolling for you guys. It says, verse 23. It says, for if any be a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like unto a man beholding his natural face in a glass. So we understand that a lot of times, if we're not doing the word, we're just watching ourselves die, or we're just living with the dead or living as dead people. That's what happens. Now watch this. Verse 24, it says, for he beholdeth himself and goeth his way, and straightway forgetteth what manner of man he is. So guess what? A lot of times we forget what type of man that we're trying to become. We forget who we are and what type of man we're trying to become. You there? You there, brother? Hello? It's trying to get him back on. You there, Gabar? Can you see me? Can you see me, brother? Yeah, this is.
No, I don't see you, bro.
You can't see me?
Now I see you. Now you're there.
It still got a big delay. There's a big delay in the voice of what you're doing. It's a big delay in there. I don't even know what that is and what's going on with that. But I went to verse 24.
James chapter 1, verse 24. For he beholdeth himself and goeth his way, and straightway forgetteth what manner of man he was.
So what I was just saying to our brothers and sisters, a lot of times it's easy for you to forget what type of person you are. It's easy to forget these commandments. That's why we have to constantly stay in these Bible, on these commandments, because you can forget in a split second, and you can let your emotions mess you up, and then you done forgot what your purpose was, what your mission was. That's why we go over these things so many times, right? But we got to keep that in mind. We have to keep that in mind. Go ahead.
Verse 25. But whoso looketh into the perfect law of liberty and continueth therein, he being not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work, this man shall be blessed in his deed.
If you're not a forgetful hearer, meaning if you hear it and know to apply it, and it says, if you be not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work, meaning doing something physical, then you're going to be blessed in your deeds. You're going to be blessed if you apply this word. This is just application of the word. So it's hearing, right? and it's patience, but it's also practice. So if you practice what you're reading, it's going to help your life, right? Go ahead, read the next verse. Go ahead. 26 and 27.
Verse 26. If any man among you seem to be religious and bright, James chapter 1, verse 26. If any man among you seem to be religious and bridleth not his tongue, but deceive his own heart, this man's religion is vain. Pure religion and undefiled before God and the Father is this, to visit the fatherless and widows in their affliction, and to keep himself unspotted from the world.
That's a charge. That's a commandment he just gave us. That's a commandment he just made us. He just told us that we had to do. He said, if any man among you seem to be religious and bridleth not his tongue. What is bridling your tongue? It's going into controlling your emotions. It's going into controlling what you say, controlling how you come at people. You guys, listen, I'm telling you guys this, and I'm learning this too. I'm trying to make sure that I keep myself right. It's a constant struggle. It's a constant thing. If you don't bridle your tongue, sometimes you'll talk recklessly, even off the hip, with your wife, with people that you love or people that you say you love, and you have to tailor those emotions. You have to tailor the way you talk to people. You have to establish guidelines and boundaries with the people closest to you. You have to do that. A lot of times when we're at home and we're just being at home, we think we don't have to tailor everything that we say or watch what we say, but you do at all times have to watch what comes out of your spirit. You have to, you have to make sure you're doing that. And a lot of people are real, especially some of us men, and we know women fight with their tongues, but a lot of us mans today, we're talking to our brothers and sisters, but it's the men who's going to set the houses straight. It's the men who's going to be the forerunners, the front runners of this nation being put back together. And we got to learn how to bridle our tongues too, if we're going to put a nation back together that's broken. I want to go to, I want you to jump to chapter 3. And the whole chapter 3 that we're going to read today, and we have to because it talks about the unruly tongue and how to bridle your tongue. And it actually gives you pointers on how to do that. So when you get a chance, go to chapter 3 and verse 1 of the book of James.
Let me get some water.
Me too.
James chapter 3, verse 1. My brethren, be not many masters, knowing that we shall receive the greater condemnation. For in many things we offend all.
Mm-hmm.
If any man offend not in word, the same is a perfect man, and able also to bridle the whole body.
Stop right there. Stop right there. When I started reading this, it says, brethren, be not many masters, knowing that we have received the greater condemnation. When you are a leader or a head of something, you are going to receive the punishment first. Men, if you're the leader of your household, you are responsible for everybody in that house. You're going to receive the greater condemnation for not doing what you're supposed to do. When we, like in verse 2, it says, for many things we offend all, because it's easy to offend. It says, if any man offend not in word, the same is a perfect man. So if you know how to speak, if you know how not to offend, how not to say the wrong words to people, you need to practice that, right? Not just once, not just twice, on a continual basis, to keep doing that. And part of the reason why we're doing this, because a lot of our brothers, when they're having arguments with their wives or having debates, a lot of times us as men will say the wrong stuff. Like we'll just say the wrong stuff. We'll get frustrated, like, but we cannot do that. You have to watch how you speak to a woman. Remember, they're the weaker vessels. They're the ones who, if you say certain things to them, if you say certain things to your wife, she'll bring that shit up, excuse my French, for 10 years, depending on how you speak to her. So you have to bridle and tailor your conversation. Okay, you can't just say anything. You can't do that,
Mhm.
you know. And a lot of times, we as men, we talk about women getting flipped. We get flipped at the mouth too, but we got to watch that thing. Keep read verse 3, and then go ahead, read verse 3. And it matter of fact, in verse 2, it
James
says you're able to
chapter
control your
3.
body, whole body. Go ahead. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
James chapter 3. I'll start at verse 2 to bring it back all the way around.
Yeah.
James
Yes,
chapter 3, verse 2. For in many things we offend all. If any man offend not in word, the same is a perfect man, and able also to bridle the whole body.
that's right.
It's that they may obey us, and we turn about their whole body.
Y'all see
Behold,
that?
also the ships.
He said we're
Behold,
able to.
also the ships, which though they be so driven of fierce winds, yet are they turned about with a very small helm, whithersoever the governor listeth.
Stop right there. You know what? It takes a little bit of food to turn that horse's head. It takes a little turn on those sails on a big gigantic boat to make it go into a completely different direction. That means it'll take a little bit of understanding, a little bit of patience, a little bit of awareness for you to control what's in your mouth, and also for you to control your body, you know, to not become wrath, to not say and do things that you know that you shan't, if that makes sense. But go ahead. So he's teaching you here how to control both. Go ahead. Verse 4.
James chapter 3. James chapter 3, verse 5. Even so, the tongue is a little member and boasteth great things. Behold, how great a matter a little fire kindleth.
It says how great a matter a
And the
little, if you
tongue
say
is
a
a
little bit wrong,
fire,
it'll kindle a big spark.
a word among our members, that it defileth the whole body, and fire the course of nature. And it is said,
Yeah. Verse 5. We're going to do it over again. Verse 5 and verse 6. So we're going to have to read verse 5 and 6 over again, Gabar. This
James
computer's
chapter 3, verse 5. Okay. James chapter 3, verse 5. Even so, the tongue is a little member and boasteth great things. Behold, how great a matter a little fire kindleth. And the tongue is a fire, a world of iniquity. So is the tongue among our members, that it defileth the whole world. Defileth the whole body, and setteth on fire the course of nature, and it is set on fire of hell.
You know what that's talking about when it says it's set on fire the course of nature? When you're talking to somebody and the thing could go to a good way, you can say one thing and it'll make the whole conversation turn into something very bad. You can say one wrong thing or make one type of misstep, and it'll make the whole conversation go to total crap. And that's what he's talking about here. And he's basically telling us to watch what we say, watch how we say, use your words with wisdom. Don't use them in a bad way. And sometimes I used to be, me and my wife love blunt people because we think that bluntness is a form of honesty. And in a way, it is. People say what's on their mind, and it doesn't really bother me at all when I run into a blunt person. But sometimes blunt people can offend very greatly. Sometimes people that are too blunt with their conversation, and I'm one of those people too. I'm very blunt, but sometimes bluntness is not what's needed for the situation, because remember, people's understanding is different. So I can't talk the way I can talk sometimes when it's just me and Gabar. I can't talk that way around every man. I can't talk that way around every woman. I have to be wise enough to tailor my conversation to the hearer. And I got to be wise and use discernment to know when I can and cannot speak in certain ways. A lot of people say, oh, you being fake. No, that's not being fake. It's really being respectful. It's really using respect and being respectful of people's feelings, because you'd want people to be respectful of your feelings. If your understanding, and we've dealt with people like that. Some people's understanding is just not there for your bluntness. It's just not there. So you say, well, certain people just don't click with me. You have to still be smart. Everybody's not going to understand certain speeches. It's just not. But go ahead. What verse we on?
James chapter 3, verse 7. For every kind of serpents and of things in the sea is tamed, and hath been tamed of mankind. But the tongue can no man tame. It is an unruly evil, poison,
full of deadly poison. And he says, for every kind of beast and of birds and of serpents and of things in the sea is tamed and hath been tamed of mankind. But the tongue can no man tame. It is a unruly evil full of deadly poison. When it says of beasts and of birds and of serpents, this is talking about different people. This is going into what we were just talking about. Everybody's different. People are different. If you're a bird and you're around a dog or a cat, it's going to be different. If you're around dog people and cat people are going to do something different, right? And so sometimes you have to watch certain things that you say. It's just as simple as that, right? But that's practicing that patience. It's practicing hearing. It's practicing control. It's practicing that endurance that you need to get through this. And I know it's frustrating for us sometimes. Now watch this. I want you to read the next verse. Verse 9.
James chapter 3, verse 9. Therewith bless we God, even the Father, and therewith curse we men, which are made after the similitude of God.
Which are made after the similitude, we curse men that are made after the similitude of God. And it says, verse 10, go ahead.
Verse 10, out of the same mouth proceed
blessings.
Out of the same mouth proceed blessing and
cursing.
These things ought not be.
It says these things ought not to be. So it's saying that those blessings and curses in the mouth, they both come out of the same man's mouth, but these things ought not to be. We ought not to do these things. We ought not to bless and curse out of the same mouth. It's just giving us a similitude, and it's giving us a comparison of what to and what not to do, how to and how not to conduct ourselves with certain people. So what James is doing here is he's kind of showing us how to tailor our conversation. He's trying to show us how to be cool, so to speak, right? But go ahead, read the next verse.
Verse 11. Doth a fountain send forth at the same place sweet water and bitter? Can the fig tree, my brethren, bear olive berries, either a vine of figs? So can no salt water and fresh.
So no fountain should be able to put salt water with fresh water. It's a mix. It's a bad mix, right? We shouldn't be doing it. Now watch this. Read verse 13.
Verse 13. Who is a wise man and endued with knowledge among you? Let him show out of a good conversation his works with meekness of wisdom.
So it's telling you that if you're a good man, if you're a person that calls yourself holy, if you call yourself righteous, spiritual, whatever you want to call yourself, he said you need to show out of a good conversation his works with meekness of wisdom. So you need to be meek. You need to be humble when you're presenting certain things to people. And that's what I'm practicing on sometimes. Sometimes I'll get beside myself and I won't feel humble. But guess what? I still try to practice being humble, because guess what? We're supposed to be more than our emotion. And this is what it's going into. That's why you have to control your tongue, because at times you have to be more than your emotion. You have to be greater than how you feel. Because a lot of people nowadays, we're into how we feel today. Everything is tailored around how we feel. And sometimes you have to be greater than your feelings. You have to be able to feel your way through an emotion without blowing it up, blowing up the spot, right? But go ahead.
Verse 14. But if ye have bitter envying and strife in your hearts, glory not, and lie not against the truth.
If you got bitter envy and strife, so that's a symptom of not being in the spirit. So bitter envy and strife is a symptom of not being in the truth, or not being subject to the truth, or subject to God's laws. So you're actually in sin when you have that bitter envy, and when you have that strife, and you act on it, and you say the wrong stuff, right? Go ahead.
This wisdom descendeth not from above, but is earthly, sensual, devilish.
It's showing you. Go ahead.
For where envying and strife is, there is confusion and every evil work.
So that's where confusion come in. When you have envy and strife, that evil comes in, right? Go ahead.
But the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, and easy to be entreated, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy.
Wow, that's a lot there to unpack. That is a great. It says it's first. He says the wisdom that's from above is first pure. That's the first thing it is. It's pure. That means you're saying things to help the situation. You don't have no agendas when you start speaking. It's first pure. Then he says it's then peaceable, meaning it says peaceable, gentle, easy to be entreated, meaning easy to talk to. So when I talk to you, I'm not talking to you with contention. When you talking, I'm not trying to, but I'm easy to be entreated. That's how we have to make ourselves. A lot of us don't make ourselves approachable enough to speak to when we get in our emotions. It's harder to speak to us when we start feeling a certain type of way. That's why he's saying these things to try to coach us against our feelings. So James is coaching us against our feelings. He said, no, you need to be like this. You need to do it like this. Go ahead, read the next verse.
Verse 18. And the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace of them that make peace.
Boom. It says the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace of them that make peace. And I'm going to tell y'all something. Sometimes it's not easy to make peace. Sometimes people are going to hold you to an impossible standard. I have a daughter. I just wrote my daughter a letter today. I have a daughter that's 22 years old, and she's incarcerated. And that's my baby. I love her to death. And so what I noticed with my daughter, and this is just something personal I'm gonna share with y'all. When she was growing up in her teenage years, she was going about with an attitude of she's gonna do what she wants. But if anybody was to do anything to offend her, she never forgave them for it. She held on to it so tightly, right? She always was, well, they did this to me, they did it. And I used to tell her, sweetie, you are going to offend people also. So you need to have a more forgiving heart. You need to learn how to forgive. You need to learn how to let go. Not forget everything, but you need to learn how to forgive, because you're going to want somebody to forgive you when you offend them. And I was always teaching her against having a spirit of vengeance or tit for tat. I was always teaching her against that. And it seems like, because we have good conversations. We write each other back and forth while she's in, and she seems like she's getting that point I've always tried to tell her, and a lot of times we don't get it. We don't understand until it's too late. I don't want for you or for one of your loved ones to end up in a place like that for you to learn that lesson. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end, the last thing he read, he says, verse 18, it says, and the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace of them that make peace. So you have to make peace. You have to. You cannot come with the attitude of I can't, that person did me wrong, so F them and it's all. No, you have to make peace. You know, I want you to go to Sirach chapter 28. And this is going into what we're talking about now. A very good chapter, a very good understanding of a chapter. And I don't know if we'll get all the way through it, but there are some parts in 28 that I want to make sure we get to today to make this point, to drive this point home. Go ahead.
Sirach chapter 28, starting at verse 1. He that revengeth shall find vengeance from the Lord, and he will surely keep his sins in remembrance.
So if you want to revenge, if you're mad at everybody for offending you, if you're mad at everybody for doing stuff to you, it says you're going to find vengeance from the Lord, and he's going to never forget your what you do to other people. Go ahead.
Forgive thy neighbor the hurt that he hath done unto thee. So shall thy sins also be forgiven when thou prayest.
Did you notice what that said, Gabar? Did you notice what that said? It says, forgive thy neighbor for the hurt that he has caused thee. Not for the misunderstanding. He said, forgive for the hurt.
For the hurt.
Hurt is a big thing. If you hurt somebody, you've done something that you was not supposed to do. That's hurting someone. So he's telling you right here, he says, forgive them of the hurt that they have caused you. And he said, guess what? I'm going to forgive you when you pray. Right? Go ahead.
Verse 3. One man beareth hatred against another, and doth he seek pardon from the Lord?
So he said, you're going to bear hate from another. Do you seek pardon for the Lord? Because you're bearing hate towards another. And we all have had, listen, everybody that's listening, everybody that has ever come on here to learn, there's somebody that you just hate, that you just could not get along with, that you just was like, man, I can't stand this dude. Even that person, you have to let it go. Because everybody got their one person. You know, some of us got more than one person. But everybody got that one person to where they say, man, I can't stand her. Or, man, I can't stand him. Everybody got one. And he says, do you still, you got hate for another man, but do you still seek pardon from the Lord? So you're going to hate somebody, but you still want me to pardon you? That's being a hypocrite, right? Go ahead. Read the next verse. Watch this.
Verse 4. He showeth no mercy to a man, which is like himself. And doth he ask forgiveness of his own sins?
You see that? Ain't that a hypocrite? You ain't showing no mercy to no one else, but then you want to be forgiven. And that's it's kind of weird, that age group that my daughter's in. Because I got other kids that are around that same age too, other than her. And it's almost as if for that generation, they do hold grudges differently from what I've seen. They hold grudges a little differently because they don't, when they are looking at another person's wrong to them, they're not thinking about what they could have done to better the situation. They're not thinking about what they could have done or said to make it better, right? And a lot of times it makes it harder. They don't get it, and maybe I think time and in experience will wake them up to that or make them realize, damn, I was tripping when I was there. But you have to go through life to understand that people do make mistakes. And when you make mistakes, guess what? When they make mistakes, they want you to hurry and forget about it. And so that's a double standard. If I do something wrong, I want you to hurry up and forget about it. And let's not talk about it no more. It's cool. Let's just move forward. But when you sin against me, we're going to stay here forever. We're not going to move from this place because you wronged me, you know? And I've noticed that a lot. And I think, and I say that I think I'm hitting a lot of buttons with a lot of these people. And I know these people's like, oh, I got kids like that too. Yes. I'm addressing it today because we do have children that nourish hate. We do have adults that nourish hate. And we have to move from that if we're trying to get better, if that makes sense. Am I making sense, brother?
Hell yeah. Oh, heck yeah, brother.
because we can't nourish hate, and a lot of us do nourish hate. A lot of our kids nourish hate, and and I'm gonna say this: we have to get to the point to where we get our kids out of that nourishing of hatred. If they wronged you, yes, they wronged you. They're gonna make it right. We're gonna try to make it right, but don't nourish or feed your hatred. Okay, go ahead and read the next verse, because this is the next verse goes into what we're talking about now.
Verse 5, if he that is but flesh nourish hatred, who will entreat for pardon of his sins?
So if you nourish hatred, who's going to entreat you? Read the next verse.
Remember thy end, and let enmity cease. Remember corruption and death, and abide in the commandments.
You see how it says, remember thy end, and let enmity cease. Remember your end. Remember, you are going to have an end. There are things you're going to want to give atone for. There are things you're going to want to be forgiven for. Remember your end when you're looking at the next person. We got to remember that, because that might, once you realize the things that you've done in your life, it may help you not to be so harsh of the people who sinned against you. I've had several people to wrong me in my life. I'm almost 50 years old now. I've had a lot of stuff going on, and I'm going to tell y'all, I can truly say, now, did I forgive them right off? No. Sometimes things take a little time, and it did take me a little time, but I can honestly say today that I have forgiven every person that has ever wronged me in my life, because I know how important it is to forgive. I know how important it is not to nourish hatred. So I can honestly say that I have forgiven everyone who has wronged me. Go ahead. Read the next verse.
Verse 7. Remember the commandments and bear no malice to thy neighbor. Remember the covenant of the highest and wink at ignorance.
And what? And do what?
Wink at ignorance. And wink at ignorance.
He's telling you to wink at when you know something that another person doesn't know. If you understand something that another person doesn't understand, sometimes you have to learn how to wink. And the word wink here means to forgive ignorance, to overlook, to wink at or to overlook ignorance. That's what he's going into when he says, remember the commandments and bear no malice to thy neighbor. Remember the covenant of the highest and wink at ignorance. He's telling you to overlook certain stupid things that you're going to go through. You're going to have to overlook some of this stuff. Because if you hold every single thing that people do on you, bro, you ain't going to never get nowhere. Read the next verse.
Verse 8. Abstain from strife, and thou shalt diminish thy sins. For a furious man will kindle strife.
If you're mad and angry, you're going to make it worse. If you're mad and upset, you're gonna make things. You're gonna take it. You're gonna put fire to an already hot situation, right? He said, abstain from strife, meaning leave off from getting into it with people or being or the back and forth. Leave off from that. Read the next verse.
A sinful man disquieteth friends, and maketh debate among them that be at peace.
When people are trying to calm down a situation, be cool, the Bible says he's teaching you how to identify the person who's in sin. A sinful man, when people are trying to let it go and chill out, and somebody keeps trying to put flames back on the fire and keep it going. No, but he said this. Remember when he said that's why he's saying a sinful man, that's the identifier, disquieteth friends, right? He reminds you of that person. If you're trying to get over a situation and somebody comes in to remind you of what they did, and you probably already forgave them, but they didn't forgive them. So they like, yeah, you remember what that nigga did? You probably forgave him. Now you rile back up again. So he's disquieting you. That's showing you that he's in sin, and he may not have had nothing to do with the situation, but he knows the details of the situation, and now he's coming back making you back angry. The Bible says that's a sinful man. Y'all need to watch for people like that. Go ahead.
Let me get this real quick, bro.
Oh, yes.
The word disquiet means to upset, to distress, to feel anxious, to feel anguish, fright, fear, panic, dread, to agitate.
Wow.
So when he's saying a disquieted When he uses the word a man, a simple man disquieteth his friends, he's saying he stresses you out. He
right.
getting on your nerves. He pushing you into a feeling that's not peaceful. Is what he is saying.
He making it hard for you. Yeah.
There you go. That's perfect. Verse 10, Sirach chapter 28, verse 10. As the matter of the fire is, so it burneth, and as a man's strength is, so is his wrath. And according to his riches, his anger riseth. And the stronger they are which contend, the more they will be inflamed.
If a man is able to be, the man is stronger. If he has a lot of power behind him, he can make a situation bad, depending on who that person is. He said the richer the person, it could be a little matter, but if the person you arguing with is the boss of the company that you work at, if he's paying you a salary of $100,000 and he's the owner, it could be a little matter and make the whole thing be horrible. And it could be that's why he's saying the stronger he is. So that's why it's important. So small things have gotten blown up in the past over things that were very trivial. And we have to be mindful of these things. So a lot of times you have to be careful of who you saying these things to, who you getting into it with. You know, if a dude is a big old dude and you're different and he has a temper problem or a shorter fuse, you know his personality. You shouldn't do that. So we go on both ends with it. It could be physical and he can cause you to lose your job. So that's very mental. It's physical because it's physical with money, but it's mental as well. So the stronger a person is, be that physically or financially, both of these things are very important. You know, I'm not finna go rile up. What's that dude they call Superman? If I know he's tripping on steroids, I'm not finna go rile this dude up. I'm not finna say nothing to make us go there. he might do something to me. You know. At the same token, the building that I own as a barber, I've been at the same building for 22 years. It's owned by the Chinese. So I'm not finna go and taunt them and say nothing bad to them and make things, because I'm gonna make things bad for me. Because all they gotta do is raise the rent and I'm up out of there. So that's the same thing. I'm not gonna fight. I'm not gonna argue with Superman to where I get beat to a bloody pulp, and then I'm not going to go to this little Chinese woman who owns all of the property that I make my money from, and rile her up either. Because with the flick of her wrist, she can change my whole life. With the flick of her wrist, she can cause my income to cease, right? And the other one, with the flick of his muscle, he can make some change too. So we have to be mindful of these things. This is life, y'all. Yeah. Did I miss anything? Yeah. Did I miss anything, brother?
Right and exact.
Go ahead.
Right and exact. Verse 11, a hasty contention kindleth a fire, and fighting sheddeth blood.
Yes. A hasty contention kindleth a fire. And we know, we already talked about that part. Read the next verse.
Verse 12, if thou blow the spark, it shall burn. If thou spit upon it, it shall be quenched. And both these come out of thy mouth.
So when it says blow on a spark, it's saying making the matter worse. When you spit on it, it's saying you're putting out the situation or calming down the situation. You can do both. It says both of these things come out of your mouth. So we have a choice. So he's talking to us about our emotions right here. You can either keep talking and make it worse, or you can say calming words to make it come down. And you can go either way. You can go either way with that situation. Now watch this. Read the next verse.
Verse 13. Curse the whisperer and double tongue, for such have destroyed many that were at peace.
It says the whisperer, somebody who talks mess about you, and the double tongue, somebody who every time you say it's cool and they acting cool around you, and then when they leave, they not acting cool. I've had to deal with both of those in my life. I've had to deal with people that have lied on me, and I have to deal with people like, oh no, I heard you said so and so about me, brother. Oh no, man, we cool. And then I leave and they say, oh, that old nigga. That's the same thing, right? Go ahead.
A backbiting tongue had disquieted many and driven them from nation to nation. Strong cities had it pulled down and overthrown the houses of great men.
So it's telling you how a backbiting tongue is a very bad thing. He's telling us how to watch our mouth and not murmur to against our brother or against our neighbors. Read on.
A backbiting tongue hath cast out virtuous women and deprived them of their labors.
It's saying a backbiting tongue has lied on women who didn't do nothing wrong. Remember the story of Susanna in the Bible? When you read the story of Susanna, she was a woman who didn't do nothing wrong. And then two priests, because she was fine, two of these priests said, if you don't give us some, we're going to lie and say that you tried to get on us. You know, I'm paraphrasing, but that was kind of the story, right? They was lying on this woman.
No, that was perfect. That was perfect. That was exactly how the story was. That's exactly how it went. Yes.
And he says a lying tongue has disquieted even virtuous women, right? And he's telling us we ought not to be that way. Read the next verse.
Whoso hearkeneth unto it shall never find rest and never dwell quietly.
Read on.
The stroke of the whip maketh marks in the flesh, but the stroke of the tongue breaketh the bones.
So the tongue do way more worse. And he's telling you the tongue do way worse than physical hurt. The tongue has hurt people and put scars on people that can never heal. People have said things about people that can never be healed, right? And they're saying it's way worse than a lot of physical pain that we experience. Go ahead.
Many have fallen. Many have fallen by the edge of the sword, but not so many as have fallen by the tongue.
God. Woo. Read on.
Well is he that is defended from it, and hath not passed through the venom thereof, who hath not drawn the yoke thereof, nor hath been bound in her bands. For the yoke thereof is a yoke of iron, and the bands thereof are bands of brass.
So that's stuff people will say about you or towards you or on your character that can never come off. There's a stain that comes on people from talking bad that can never come out. That's why it's important to watch what we say. A lot of times when people have been accused of real dastardly things, they call it defamation of character. You can actually sue a person for defamating your character. If a person accuses you of being a rapist or a child molester, and then they say, oh, well, we found no evidence to support this. Well, that stain is still there. So you probably will never be able to open up a daycare. You probably be found innocent, but because that person made those accusations on you and you didn't even do it, they say, well, he was a child molester. We say, well, I never did that. And you go to court, you prove it. You probably could never open up a daycare again for the state. It's just, you're out of there. And not because you did it, but it's because of the accusation. So that's what it's saying. It says, for the yoke thereof is a yoke of iron, and the bands thereof are bands of brass. So it's there to stay. It's very heavy, right? It messes you up, right? Read on.
Verse 21. The death thereof is an evil death. The grave were better than it.
Woo! So when somebody says something about you, that it says it's better to be dead than to have your character smeared or to be besmirched. I think that's the English term when they say you have besmirched my character. It's better to die than to have someone to besmirch your character. Read on.
It shall have rule over them that fear God. Neither shall they be burned with the flame thereof.
Read that again. It shall not. Read verse 22 again.
Sirach 28 verse 22. It shall not have rule over them that fear God. Neither shall they be burned with the flame thereof.
So if you fear the Most High, he's saying that these things are not going to harm you. But that's why we have to stay in the spirit. That's why we have to stay keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, so that when things happen, and I'm gonna tell you, brothers and sisters, we are going to go through a lot of stuff in this walk. But if you stay here and keep your mind stayed on keeping his commandments, you're going to be protected. It's going to be better for you. Read the next verse.
Verse 23. Such as forsake the Lord shall fall into it, and it shall burn in them and not be quenched. It shall be sent upon them as a lion and devour them as a leopard.
Read on.
Look that thou hedge thy possession about with thorns, and bind up thy silver and gold, and weigh thy words in a balance, and make a door and bar for thy mouth.
Y'all see that? Make a door and a bar for thy mouth. Watch what you say. This is all this is talking about. Watch what the hell you say. Watch how you come across. It's very important. Read that last verse.
Verse 26. Beware thou slide not by it, lest thou fall before him that lieth in wait. So
don't slide by it. He said, beware thou slide by it unless you fall before him that lieth in wait. That's what we're talking about today. We've done classes on this before. We've talked about bridling the tongue before. I've done a class called Listen and Pay Attention or something like that. We've done this, but the crazy part is, Gabar, this is all through the Bible. And I don't believe the Most High would just keep putting the same stuff in here if we didn't keep needing to read it. We need to read these things to remind us to apply the words and to help us to remember our mission, to what we should be doing, right? And he's saying the same stuff over and over again, brother. He's not changing. He's saying the exact same stuff over and over again. We just have to get to the point to where we start listening to him and where we taking his word, taking his advice and using it, you know. But that's all I got today, brother. But I wanted to get through those 3 chapters, and we got through those 3 chapters, man. It was hard because of the computer.
I was gonna say it was a struggle at first, wasn't it?
It was a struggle, but we got through those 3 chapters today because we have to sometimes, rather than going from precept on precept, we try to read because he's sometime in the paragraph of the chapter, he's explaining something to us that we need to understand.
Everything you need to unfold. Yes, sir. I agree.
Yeah. So that's why we want to do that. That's all I got today, man. I hope y'all got some good understanding today. As always, I thank you, brother, for reading and for bringing this word out, Elder. You're always a good help, man. You're always a powerful and powerful and mighty prophet, man. Powerful and mighty help, and all my brothers. And thank you also, Brother Larry, for stepping up and helping out, man. You guys, all you guys, man, y'all are very devoted Israelites, and I thank all of you guys, you know, for everything. And with that, we say shalom.
Thanks for y'all, brothers. I'm with Brother Shi'yah. I want to tell y'all I'm proud of y'all. Y'all keep working, man. Brick by brick, step by step, we're gonna rebuild this nation, and we're gonna give all the honor and praise and glory to the Most High.
That's right. And none for ourselves. And all the crazy,
none for ourselves,
and none for ourselves, for real. You know, and that's a wonderful thing. I thank y'all for listening. I thank y'all for being here, man. All praises. Love you, brother. Much love to you,
brother. Love you too, big bro.
All right. Shalom.